Hi, this is Scott Moore from Endpoint IoT, and this video is to show you how to use the new CoAP protocol for microfocus LoadRunner. As of version 12.55, the CoAP protocol is an additional download. It's available for free on the Microfocus App Delivery Marketplace website, and here's the URL you'll need to go to in order to download that. CoAP is a Internet of Things protocol that you can use to test M2M and other IoT frameworks and applications. Once you've downloaded it, you can install it. If you want to see it installed before you actually do it, there's a video on our Endpoint IoT YouTube channel which walks you right through the installation in less than 5 minutes. We're happy to announce that Endpoint IoT has created a new website for you called testtheiot.com. Now, the purpose of this website is simply to give you an opportunity to use our CoAP protocol in Vugen, and we're going to begin opening it up for additional IoT protocols as well, such as MQTT. It's just basically there for you to make some simple calls in Vugen. You could even run a small load test for 5 minutes, 10 minutes before you actually go live and testing the application as it's set up. So it's giving the performance engineers a little bit of a heads up when they don't have the ability or capability to create a CoAP proxy server themselves. So I want to show you, first of all, there's an add-in in Firefox called Copper. And you install that into Firefox. You'll have to restart it. And once you do, it will allow you to navigate to CoAP proxies just like you would a website. Instead of HTTP, you would use CoAP. This is our testtheiot.com web server, and you'll notice we're using the standard CoAP port of 5683. So this is the URL you would use to get to that, and this is what you would also put in Vugen. So the server is testtheiot.com, and the port number is 5683. I would encourage you to go out and read the documentation on Copper and CoAP and how how that protocol works. But one of the first things you'd probably do in here is discover what's available on that server, and you'll get a listing of these endpoints here. Now for this video, we're going to use the test endpoint here. And you'll notice that when I do, there's only really 4 verbs that you need to worry about in this protocol. But if I do a get, for example, this is what I get back. And so you'll see I get an MID number here, and that number changes. Every time that I do a get, you'll see that it increases. So you can also do post, you can do put, you can do deletes. Feel free to just to play around with this. So that's what we're trying to encourage is you to get familiar with the CoAP protocol and how it operates. And this is a great way to start off. But now we want to move into Vugen. So starting with version 12.55, if you've already installed the CoAP protocol, then when you create a new script, you'll see it listed here. You're going to get a template. And now this is not a record and replay protocol. This is a protocol where you're going to hand code what you need, because it's very simple. You don't really need a recording and a replay for this. So you would either use the function reference to create your script, or you can start with this as this commented out section and look at how it's already been set up, and maybe you can just use that as it is and just change possibly the server name and where the endpoint of where you're going to. Notice that some of these numbers, some of these things are hard-coded, so you will have to change it, but this is something that is there for you to, I guess, learn from, and then just maybe take out what you don't need or change it and tweak it to your benefit. Instead of just host name, we are going to replace that with testtheiot.com, because that's going to be the server name, and then we're going to replace large with test, and that's based on this endpoint here. So notice we actually do have a large out here, so probably that script would work if you were to play it back just by replacing this information and uncommenting it. So I'm going to close this template script and bring up a script that I already had available. This script is basically everything commented out, uncommented so that I have what I want, and I'm going to capture a test parameter. And what I'm going to capture is a left-right boundary here. Remember, we did this MID number here. We did a get, and we have this MID number that's associated here. So I'm going to capture that the way that we would do that in the web protocol. So it's a CoAP reg save param instead of a web reg save param. Just looking at what's happening on the left and right boundaries, the first instance of it, which is why the ordinal equals 1. But this function operates very much like the web reg save param that you're used to. With the ord equal all, etc. I've parameterized the server name. So in my parameters list, I have a random number between 1 and 9999 with a leading 0, so it's always 4 digits in length, and I'm incrementing that every iteration, but I also have parameterized the server name. So you could have a testtheiot.com, and you could implement your own CoAP proxy with this same endpoint, and you could test the difference between the two if you wanted to. And then I'm not only selecting that once, so it's just there so that if I wanted to change out the server name, I could, and I don't have to do anything except change that parameter. So I'm going to do a get request, then I'm going to do a post. All of this is /test, so that represents that test endpoint that I pointed to. And so we're just going to walk through that, and we're going to time the get. So we've got a start transaction of get and end transaction. We're going to do the put. Starts here. We're going to do a delete. And we're also going to use the function CoAP get int property. So it's going to go and look at the last payload size of the request that I made, and it's going to save that and send myself a message to it. So these are pretty much using all the CoAP functions that we have at this time. And I've already got detailed logging turned on, and you'll see it was very fast. So when you're dealing with Internet of Things, you should be expecting sub-second response times because it's very small payloads. The key is going to be putting these in a load test where you have a very limited network, constrained network. That's definitely going to slow these down, and so you're going to want to see the network impact of that. But let's take a look at the output log. And just to show you before we do that, here are the runtime settings that I've got turned on. For logging, I've got extended logging turned on just for debugging purposes at this time. And then I do only have one configuration setting for CoAP, which is the 120-second timeout. Okay, so let's go back and look at our log file. And you can see where CoAP set options. It was looking at the parameter file and making sure that it had set those. We're setting up a parameter called test param, and we are going to save that parameter off. We also have our random number that's being generated, the 4-digit number that I told you about earlier. And then we can actually see that CoAP traffic. So here's the CoAP request that I made. This is what's being returned from the CoAP proxy to me. So I'm seeing an ID number, that it is a connected instead of non-connected type, and right now we only support connected types. Then we've got a token. We know that what the method was, the destination, and the payload size. Alright, so we made this request. This is the response back, and we got a payload back of 61 bytes. So you can see that as we start looking at this, content types, maximum age, when we think of caching, and that's a very simple cache mechanism. This is the acknowledgement. It does have an HTTP-like feel with CoAP if you've not seen this before. So we saved off that parameter because we were able to grab the number 3103 and that came back from this response, and that would have been that MID number. So we were able to save that off, and then we were able to use that and send ourselves a message. We can also see that our pass status was 0.1974 of a second. All right, so all of these responses, requests and responses, we are seeing back in the detailed logging. So it gives us a good idea of how that CoAP proxy is responding. So that's how you would create a script in LoadRunner for CoAP after you've installed it and testing it on our new Test the IoT server. So we would encourage you to get Copper, go to our website, Test the IoT, and start playing around with this and utilize this, because that's what it's for. It's to help you guys learn how to do this. We would encourage you to give us feedback, let us know what you think about this, and if we can help you in any way, give us a call. You can see our number up here, or you can reach us at contact@endpointiot.com. Thanks for watching.